of how she treated me, my interpretation as a little girl, that meant to me I wasn't loved. And going through the whole horse experience and how you took me through it, and realizing that it wasn't that Zachary, the horse, didn't love me. It was other stuff going on. And when I came back home, it connected. It all connected together. That it wasn't that my mom didn't love me. That of course she loved me. It was just how I interpreted it as a child. And going through that, I wept like a baby to be able to really connect that. And it took me days, the seminar days, and then coming home, and then the dreaming, to really be able to put that together. And it was very healing for me. And then the next thing that happened is my mom had asked me about the seminar. So when I was talking to her about the seminar, I talked to her about the horse experience, and which was amazingly healing. She said, "Of course I loved you. I've always loved you. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter who you are, I love you," which was an affirmation of what I had come to that morning. And it was all because of the Zachary was such a symbol of, I wanted the love and approval, and if I didn't behave correctly because I didn't do the right things, because of not being there for him the way he wanted me to, that he didn't love me. And what I realized with the whole process that you took me through was that he did love me, and he told me he loved me. So I realized that was the core of my childhood, and that was very healing.
When you're in a state of complete gratitude all the time, in a state where you really know that you are creating what's happening in your experience, you begin to find that you're in unconditional awakening, and you open yourself to having more and more experiences where you feel in tune with nature, where you hear your intuition, where you can accomplish practical goals instantly, where whatever you seek in life, whether that's happiness or love or compassion or ease, is suddenly there to be yours in the moment all the time. And this becomes very practical as well as magic, because when you're in a state of unconditional happiness or joy or peace, you will find that you can manifest practically, financially, career-wise, relationship-wise, that which you desire. And many programs of psychology or personal growth work do it from the other way around. Many don't, but many do, and that's all fine and good. But what I find as a therapist is that many times people get all their goals accomplished and they wonder why they're not happy. And that's because they went the opposite direction. Because once you accomplish all your goals, it doesn't mean that you're happy. You're going to be happy when you decide to be happy. So the reason that I have come to include work with nature and animals, I originally just started out as a therapist working with people, but for probably 20 or more years, I spent time studying psychology and religions, Eastern and Western religions, going and living in ashrams, going and studying all kinds of paths, going and getting my degrees and certificates and graduate degrees. And everything that the psychologists and therapists and gurus and people in personal growth movements and religious paths and ashrams were aspiring to learn through rigorous and arduous practice, I found the animals already knew and could teach me and my clients in an instant, literally. So to be really specific, one of the beings on this planet that taught me the most about healing and living in ease and enjoyment in a physical body is a cat named Shira. And human beings speak a lot about the mind-body connection, and when I came to really deeply understand it was through a cat named Shira, who you might have noticed when you walked in. She was up on the computer. And what she showed me to do was, first of all, not think of things in terms of illness, but think of things in terms of harmony and disharmony. So we're either in harmony or we're in disharmony. Scientists are finding out more and more that what we call illness or sickness is actually a discordant chord. We are emanating light and sound all the time. And what is called illness is a chord that's like if you play C and D on the piano at the same time, it just doesn't sound too good. But if you play C and E, everything feels happy. So Shira showed me this, and she worked with me one time when I was in my office. I don't know if I had food poisoning or there was something sprayed or painted in that office, but I got really sick. Like, I don't remember ever feeling so sick as that day in my office. And I didn't know what had happened, and I felt so sick. I literally, there was no client there, and I couldn't even walk across the room to call Ray or walk into the bathroom. My whole body went into this wrenching pain. I'd never experienced anything like it. I felt like I must have eaten poison. I to this day don't know what happened, but I got in contact with this cat, Shira, and Shira said to just be fully present with it and to stop judging it, that I had a whole mental construct about being sick, and the more I played that mental construct to myself in my mind, the sicker I felt. She said just be with it, and she showed me, because this is a cat who lived through cancer, arthritis, 2 other life-threatening diseases, and lived till she was 17. And she worked through all of them so that she could help people learn how to do that. And she showed me how to just enter fully into every cell of my body and be present. And all of a sudden, I was experiencing what I had known to be illness and discord in my body, and I was at total peace and complete joy. And it passed. We become very reliant on the intellect, which is an amazing and incredible tool, but only one of many tools for communication. The animals that have been looked at as like, oh, they're not, they're cute, they're not that smart. They're permaculturists. If all of us died, if every single human died, the planet would flourish. The way the animals and nature takes care of itself, everything would be fine if all the humans died, because we've become the predator. And if all the insects died, that's it. Life would be over. So we have a lot to learn. And from following animals around and learning to listen to them, and trees and flowers, I've learned incredible lessons about life that I wasn't able to get on a non-intellectual level priorly. The bird that taught me everything I was aspiring to learn in all my years at ashrams and with gurus. Bless all the gurus' hearts, I love them all, but it was just a little bird who I would sit with him. He was a dove. His name is Jonah. He's right there. And we would listen to music together. And he just told me one day, he's like, Lori, if you want to be content, be content. I was like, what? He said, if you want to be content, be content. And I didn't know how, because my whole emotional, psychological being was like, I'm happy, I'm sad. I have a problem, I transformed it, I'm elated, I've crashed, I'm awful. And he just said, I said, well, how do you do it, Jonah? And he said, oh, it's easy. Just follow me. And that's when my life changed significantly, because he was energetically, it wasn't an intellectual concept, sitting there with me energetically, he placed the energy in my solar plexus in my heart of just being content. And realizing being content is just a choice. It has nothing to do with anything other than choosing it.
I am the salty sweat of summer, I am pansy guarded rainwater wine. Human muscle of a mountain walk, I am strength of forest bloom through time. In winter I am muffin rise, bedded in baking tin. I'm night, I'm day, married within your eyes. I surrender through you, you surrender through me. I am your voice, we are divine.
I'm just laughing because I was just talking to Mark and realizing how there is some humor in all this. In my green dress, sitting on the green chair with a little moth on me. And I was imagining the Saturday Night Live skit with the woman with insects crawling all over her, dressed like a tree. But I wanted to share that because really what's so wonderful about working with animals and people together is the animals really help people to realize what's most important is love and humor and fun. And sometimes the most profoundest and simple things that we've been yearning for and all kinds of formulas and practices come to us simply in the moment of simplicity of sharing unconditional love or joy or appreciation with an animal or with each other. I'm really happy this little moth has come to join me today, reminding me of what happened when I was giving a talk over at the Santa Cruz Women's Expo recently. I was supposed to give the keynote speech on 10 guaranteed steps to happiness and success. And I was preparing and getting ready and feeling a bit serious, and I noticed this little moth had landed on my stack of books I had with me to sell. And I stopped and just asked the moth, "Are you here to talk to me?" And the moth said, "Yes, I am. I'm here to talk to you about your speech." And I said, "Really? What did you want to say about my speech?" And the moth said, "It's great to give information, and it's wonderful to talk about guaranteed steps to success and happiness, because of course people want to know what these steps are. However, that's not your truest purpose for being at this talk." And I said, "Well, what is my truest purpose?" And the moth said, "To be peace." And that struck me right away, because the moth didn't say to teach peace. The moth said to be peace, which is really the only way to teach anything, is to be it oneself. So I said, how am I going to be peace while I'm giving the talk? How am I going to remember to create and feel and be in peace that whole talk? And the moth said, "You're going to focus on me. Keep your heart with me and I'll handle it." So I went up and I kept my heart with that moth, and I stayed in a state of peace. And I could feel as I did that the people there were becoming peace themselves. And I remembered reading a study about vocal cords, and apparently when a singer goes up in front of an audience, the vocal cords of the audience begin to vibrate in exactly the same way the singer's vocal cords are vibrating. They've taken photos of this, they've done studies on this. So by standing up and be in a state of peace, everyone there was receiving my energy, and then their energy chose to do that. You all know how it is when you're around someone who's being loving, it catches. So anyway, what was so wonderful for me was when I finished the talk, I went back hoping to see the little peace moth, and the moth was gone, and I sat down, and about a minute later this moth flies up and lands right on my arm, and we look at each other for a few minutes, and I felt so much awe and gratitude. And even more deeply, I realized that the animals are amazing teachers when I listen to them. When you meet someone from another culture, it's easy to make an assumption and think you know what they're doing when you're really not understanding the practices, the basic thought premises of their cultures. It's the same way with the animals. We think we're so smart because they don't seem to respond to some of our ways, but quite often they don't respond to our intellectual, controlling, and manipulative ways. They're in a very intricate world that has all kinds of language based on love and based on harmony and based on rules that allow the earth to prosper and grow. And when we start to find out how intricate their language is and how much responsibilities all animals have for what's happening on the planet, with me, my respect grew greatly, and I saw that things might be a little bit backwards than how I thought. There is a certain arrogance and superiority that gets bred into the mind of even the greatest animal lovers. And I can't say that I didn't have some of that, even though I've always loved animals and respected them. There was a subtle assumption I hadn't even noticed that somehow I was a little smarter or knew more. And working closely with the animals, I've come to see that's not at all the case. So I looked at that moth for a long time, and then 2 bugs came along, flying, and the 3 flew off together.
I'm Linda Adams. I'm an energetic practitioner and psychotherapist, sound healing, and teacher. I speak on the radio a lot to talk about my classes, and I speak in front of groups and give my classes. And I found that whenever I had to get up in front of a group, that I would get massive butterflies in my stomach and get really nervous and have trouble speaking, not know what I wanted to say. So I came to Lori to work on that, to see what we could do to clear it. And we did 1 session on that, and during that session we worked with all of me to find out what was in the way, what was in the way of my speaking from my heart. And as we cleared that and we were working on it, we were working on one last little question that needed to be cleared, and I was having a little trouble getting to it. And this beautiful little finch was working with us that day, and all of a sudden I heard this little finch voice in my ear saying, "You can do it, it's easy." And after that, I really began to take that energy out with me out into the world and to speak it in my classes and on the radio. And Marsha Morgan, the host of the radio show in the Company of Angels, told me that I was very, very different, that I was so much more relaxed and could really speak from my heart. And so as I go out and I do my work, I come from a more playful place within myself now because my heart speaks more clearly. And as I was arriving here to talk about this work, a little finch met me outside, and I was wondering, oh dear, how am I going to do this? And of course, the first thing I heard in my mind was, you can do it, it's easy. So now I have this wonderful little voice and this energy that goes with me whenever I talk in front of groups on the radio, or even just talking individually with people. It's like, you can do it, it's easy, just come from your heart.
It feels, how I feel right now is, I just feel so many different feelings of our humanity all at once. I feel the longing and the love and the fear, and no, it doesn't feel separate, it feels like everybody. And I feel so grateful that you're sitting here and I can share this with you and be in it. And thank you for holding the space.
I'm being held by the same space.
Yeah. And I just had a really neat experience because as soon as I commented on you, I went out of the oneness and I saw you as separate than me.
Very
and it was just fun to go into the two-ness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no problem with duality. Space holds it all.
I wanted to share that when I go deep inside me, often I feel that the ocean and the animals, in some intellectual way I can never explain, are truly in us. That
That's
the
right.
sun and everything is actually literally in us, deep
That's
in
right.
our heart.
That's right.
That it goes so, so deep, it doesn't stop. And that all of this is here in each one of us.
That's exactly right. That is true understanding.
And that the love is so big that I just feel that that's why I'm here, the love.
This is awake consciousness speaking. This is the truth.
And I feel I love you so much, and I've never met you before. I was just told it would be good to come.
I'm so happy to meet you.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to meet you, and I feel I love all of you so much, that you are me. And I'm so grateful to be here at this time in history where we can know that and share that, so many of us. Yeah, thank
What
you.
a gift you are.
You. Thank
You,
you.
that's finally what we sing. You. Oh, let's just sit together in peace for a moment.
I am your soul, your human soul. I will sing through you each time you hear me. You can listen, you need not fear me. Hey, I am your human soul.
I'm asking these women to do what animals naturally do, and babies do it too. You're not going to find an animal or a baby sitting around analyzing, intellectualizing a challenge. What they're going to do is respond with all their creative genius in the moment. So they're going to use their breath, their movement, the sounds they can make to alter reality in the moment. They're going to change the way in which they're approaching a situation so that everything around them changes. When you do this, you realize you are the source creator and you have the moment-to-moment opportunity to change everything in your environment into love, because every single thing that you are witnessing and seeing is simply the result of how you are perceiving, and you are either perceiving every aspect of yourself and therefore everyone else through fear or through love. So use the creative mechanism you've been given, the beauty, the amazing talent, the body, the breath, the mind have to create an arena of love by loving each aspect of yourself, and you'll find you will be loving everyone, and you will find love being given back to you. Everything we're doing here today is centered around the idea of expressing. There's so much that we do in life that doesn't allow our full body expression and our full vocal expression. So when we participate in this type of drama and dance growth work or therapy work, depending on the nature of the workshop, we really work on bringing everything out, following every impulse. So today, before we even check in and find out how everyone is and who they are, we're going to take a minute just to completely express ourselves with body and voice. There's no set rules, there's no set structure. I just want everyone to let loose and let whatever movement or sound wants to come out of you to come out. And we're all going to do that all at once. So let's start. Please fully let yourself go, whatever it is, laughter, tears. And take a minute and allow your full body, let your body really get into whatever it is. You can stand up, you can sit. Don't worry. Just go. Okay? If you... Sit back down. We're going to go around the circle and just check in. I'd like everyone to say who you are, why you're here, what your background experience in doing this type of activity, work is, what your profession is, and we'll start with Yolanda.
My name's Yolanda. I'm an actress and a children's entertainer and a dancer. I started working with Lori as acting. And it was very unique to work with Lori. We used hypnosis to get into character, and it was the first time I became the character from the inside out. And then that was our first bond, and now we've kind of extended our work together to include all kinds of not just entertainment, but therapy through entertainment.
And my name is Barry, and I'm an occupational therapist, and I work with children. And I started working with Lori as an individual client in expressive therapy about 6 months ago. And since then, I have joined some of her groups and do group process expressive work.
My name's Joanna. I teach Tai Chi Chi, and I've been working with Lori on overcoming my fear of public speaking and just being in the now, expressing how I feel in the moment. Trying to learn to think on my feet, to express myself more clearly and creatively and genuinely from the heart.
My name is Michelle Belinda Hayward, and I've been working with Lori probably about 9 months now, and in that time have found a career shift, a change in jobs and livelihood from doing survival work, service work, to teaching yoga, which is something that I've always done and practiced, yet never thought that it was something I could make a living with.
So today, what we're going to do is we're going to examine reoccurring characters that come into our life and annoy us. We're going to look at people that keep coming into your life with a similar characteristic that's painful for you. So for example, if your boss and then your boyfriend and then, your best friend were all very critical, I want you to identify that. Or if you keep attracting around you people that are very needy, and these needy people remind you of your needy sister who always had to be taken care of, I want you to look at that. So take a minute just to think about anybody in your life currently who has some kind of quality that's been very hard, very painful, that's challenged you in some way. And notice if it's that person and that quality has been around in some other mask and some other costume at some time in your life. think about it for a moment, and we'll go back around and share what quality it is that keeps reemerging.
Shall I start?
Yes.
I know immediately. It's in romantic relationships. I keep seeking out, the invisible man. And it's from Daddy. He was emotionally unavailable and an alcoholic. And so I keep seeking out men who are uniquely qualified to bring me misery. And then I stay there. And I just ended one, so I'm kind of going through the grief and the excitement of let's try something different this time.
For me, the character that I keep attracting into my life that causes me undue pain and misery is people who are so self-absorbed and needy and limited that they can't truly understand, appreciate, or see who I really am and what my great qualities are, and that my creative zest for life and playfulness is something that the people that I know, they don't join in with me to be creatively playful and fun and silly. And I continually attract people who can't share that with me.
I tend to attract people into my life who actually are fairly powerful personalities, and I think I also attract people who actually tend to be quite pleased with themselves. And I find this very difficult. I grew up believing that it was really very inappropriate behavior to speak well of yourself, have a good self-image, be pleased with yourself, blow your own trumpet. And I realized that this is something I really need to do, that I have a deep shame about expressing my own worth. And so I believe these people are being sent into my life to show me that it's okay to do this.
I'll be participating today. In my psychotherapy groups, I never participate. In some of my expressive arts groups, where the nature is not psychotherapeutic but simply growth work focused on the present and the future, I put myself in a bit so people see that I'm human and I'm part of all the work that we're doing too. So I'll be participating, and the quality I keep attracting to me that's been challenging is the quality of being critical and giving me the message that I'm not good enough as I am.
Looking over past relationships, business and personal relationships, I find the quality is lack of appreciation. And under times of stress, when I'm taking large amounts of work, of responsibility, there's not any kind of support there, emotional, physical, and it seems to carry over in relationships, whether they're personal or business.
So what we're going to do next, because it's very easy to get mad at the people we draw into our lives and try to change them and try to shift them, and then find ourselves in the pattern repeatedly dissatisfied. We are going to look at ourselves and say, what part of me keeps bringing that quality to me? And some of you already started doing that in your sharing. What part of me is bringing this critical person to me? What do I think or feel about myself? What part of me is in cahoots with this person that I say I don't want around? So think on that for a second, and then let's check in. I'm going to pose a question to each of you here, and before I ask the question, I want to remind us all that none of us are victims. We live in a time when we have food, we have shelter, we have money. We're not victims. We can make choices. We're not in concentration camps. We're not starving. We're not in a country where we're getting beat up. We're not worrying about our survival. We're quite blessed.